So in the next 30 minutes, we'll be seeing these four main things where we're going to focus on why do we really need automations? Like why do a lot of businesses invest in automations? What is the real benefit? Is there one for that matter? And the next question comes to what to automate in your service desk. There are a lot of functionalities that a service desk performs every day. But to pick and choose which ones to automate can be really difficult. And how do we go on about doing that? And then we'll see the new automations that we have released in Freshservice. Some of you might be aware of these automations, but for those of you who aren't, we're going to have some really interesting discussions on that. And then we have just a few key takeaways where you'll know what to automate and how to use Freshservice for that. Also, for this webinar, we have our industry specialist, Sanjeev, in the panel, who is going to be answering all of your questions throughout the webinar. So please feel free to shoot your questions in the Q&A panel of your Zoom window, and Sanjeev will be happy to answer the questions. So let's begin with why automations. The term automations have been around in the industry for almost a decade. And why are we having to talk about it now? And why are so many organizations investing in automations today? There are so many business benefits for automations, and these are just a few of them. Lean and efficient service desk, meaning which, with lesser number of people, you'll be able to perform a variety of service desk operations, which means that you have a lot of potential and time in your agent's hands for doing business impactful processes. In addition to that, you have increased employee satisfaction. The IT team in your organization, the main purpose of the team is to handle the internal support of your employees. And the internal support of your employees will in turn reach out to your customers, and it will directly impact the customer experience that your business gives. And that is why employee satisfaction is very important, and automations plays a key role in increasing the employee satisfaction. We'll see how. Streamlined onboarding and change management. Now, these are two very repetitive areas in Service Desk, which automations can be really helpful in. Every day an employee joins, and every day there is some change that has to be rolled out. And each of these processes have a lot of steps in them, which often require a lot of agent's times. And this is where automation comes in handy to take out tremendous load with respect to time from an agent's plate. Oh, the last one, reduced human errors. When we talk about the business benefits of automations, this is the least spoken about. But this is extremely crucial because when you have a lot of human errors, then no matter how lean or efficient your service desk is, no matter how great your employee satisfaction is, and no matter how streamlined your onboarding and change management is, there is always a loophole for things to fall apart. And that is why automations are almost foolproof in making sure that there are no human errors in any of the processes that your service desk manages. And it's not only these benefits, there are so many other organizations that have reaped several business benefits out of automations. Here are some of those numbers where Forrester and Tech Beacon had conducted surveys and studies to come up with these numbers. There has been proven decrease in operational cost using automation, and that number is 41%. A 41% decrease in operational cost can be really beneficial for your company's growth. And not just that, we also have a 15% year-on-year revenue growth in businesses that has invested in automations. Additionally, businesses have noticed 85% of increase in staff productivity. And this directly goes to where the agent's time has been freed up by automating a lot of repetitive mundane tasks. Also, on the employee's side, a lot of their requests are being answered frequently and easily so that they don't have to wait for an agent to respond to it so that their productivity doesn't get hindered. And 65% of faster process execution. This one is very obvious. You have a clean workflow built for several processes, and all these processes happen step 1, 2, 3 automatically based on the previous step, where the execution is at the highest speed ever. Now that we've seen why automation is important, now if you want these kind of benefits for your organizations, then you need to focus on automating a lot of processes in your service desk. I'm sure there are at least hundreds of processes that you would like to automate. But if you have to narrow it down to a few, how do you go on about doing it? All you need to do is focus on three things: business impact, employee satisfaction, and repetitive tasks. You can identify the repetitive task by using the analytics in Freshservice, where you can see the number of tasks that are resolved by agents with similar categories or similar subject lines. Now, this will give you an idea of which particular area do I have the most problem coming from the employee side. Now, you can do a lot of things. You can create a workflow, you can create a knowledge base, you can do a lot of things using Freshservice to curb this particular problem. The next one is studying employee satisfaction. You can run surveys in every ticket that goes out of your Freshservice. You can have satisfaction scores running out of every ticket in your Freshservice, and you can identify how satisfactory is the employees in your organization, their interaction with your IT team. That gives you an idea of where is the pain point for the employees and where should I focus my automation on. Finally comes the business impact. Now, this is a really good place for you to focus on, as this can directly impact your business revenue, profit, and growth. A very good example will be change management. Change management is a very critical business impactful area where there is no room for change, no room for errors. If there are any errors in the changes that you're deploying, then there is a high chance of your services and applications coming down, which will directly impact your business revenue. Now, these are the different kind of areas that you can focus and narrow down and identify the ones that you want to automate in your organization. The first one that I would like to talk about is Cab Huddle, which is going to help you with automating a major part of your CAB meetings. Now, why is this important? Why did Freshservice focus on CAB meetings as a problem to introduce automations for? It's because many of our customers, especially change managers, spend a lot of time in just arranging and conducting these CAB meetings. It starts with putting down a list of changes that has to be spoken about in a particular meeting, and then identifying the stakeholders who have to be available for that meeting, and then checking their calendars for their availability, and then typing out an email. And this process goes on and on to almost 10 to 15 steps. Now, we wanted to simplify this whole thing for our change managers, for our customers, and hence we introduced this. Now let's go to the product and take a look at how this solves the CAB meeting problem. So in Freshservice, in the calendar, you need to go to the change calendar. Once you're in the change calendar, you'll be able to see the schedule button. If you click on it, you'll be able to see CAB meeting. Here on CAB meeting, let's give a name for this meeting. And here you can add any stakeholders that you want for this particular CAB meeting, and you need to specify a particular date or time. Let's say that you want this conducted between 2:45 and 3:45 p.m. on the 1st of April. And now comes the interesting part. You can add the changes that you want to be discussed in this particular meeting directly from this UI. Now for this meeting, I want to filter the changes which are open. Now this shows all the changes that satisfy this particular condition. You can add how many other conditions that you want to narrow down the particular changes that you want to talk about. And you can go ahead and select the changes and add them to this particular CAB meeting 24. You can see that these tickets are added. And if you want to have any of the comments to be added here, like priority 1 or not urgent and so on for November and so on. So any kind of any kind of comment that you want to add to the particular changes, you can do that right from here. And then here you can see that the setup meeting summary option is here. So this is an email that will be sent to all the stakeholders of this particular meeting. And here you can see that all the placeholders are already mentioned. The change list, the CAB name, description, and the times. And once you're done with this, all you need to do is create this meeting. You have the question that asks, would you like to send an invite to all the meeting attendees? Yes, so send. The CAB meeting has been successfully created. And here you can see in your calendar, within the Freshservice UI, you can see the CAB meeting right here. And on April 1st at 2:30, if you click on this CAB meeting, you will be able to see all the details that has been added here, and you can start the meeting directly from here by clicking on Run Meeting. And here, we added 3 changes from the list based on the conditions that we created. And all these 3 changes are available like a slideshow. You can see the previous and next options at the bottom here. So you can see all of the properties of the change right from here. And once you go over this change, you can click on Next for the next change in the list to appear. And you can edit any of the properties from here, and you can even add comments directly from here. Decided to push 1 more month, and so on. And you can end the meeting directly. And once you end the meeting, you'll be asked if you want to send a meeting summary to all of your attendees. And once you click send, here is a summary of what happened over the meeting. It includes all the comments that we added over the meeting. And all you need to do is click send, and this meeting is over. Now, this simplifies the huge process of arranging and conducting a CAB meeting into just a couple of clicks. In this way, you can increase the productivity of your agents and the stakeholders and the change managers to a great extent. Hope this was an interesting functionality that was introduced in Freshservice, and hope this helps a lot of you here today. The next one that we'll be seeing is about asset automations. So a lot of you will be aware of the workflow automator that is available in Freshservice. And many modules like incident, change, and problem were available in this workflow automator, meaning which you can create workflows for incidents, for changes, and for problems. Now, we have introduced assets in workflow automator, meaning you can create workflows for assets as well. Now, this is going to make the management of an asset extremely easy, and you can auto assign assets to the employees, or you can auto assign status like, for example, busy or in stock or in use until a particular date and so on to the assets using a simple workflow. Now, let me take you to the product to show you how this works. Let's go to the admin section. In the admin section, under Help Desk Productivity, you have Workflow Automator. And in Workflow Automator, you will be able to see tickets, problems, changes, releases, and now we have added assets. So we have created two default workflows for assets. Let's just see each of them for you to understand how this works. So in this workflow is for an asset when it is returned by an user. That asset status has to be automatically updated to in stock. For example, let's say that an asset has been lended or borrowed by an user for a particular period of time. It could be a mobile phone, an iPhone for a recording of a video, or a Linux machine for a particular testing. It could be any asset. And if this asset has been used and given back, submitted back, then it has to be updated as in stock. Now there is a condition for this. Now that asset should not be used by anyone at that point. Let's see each of these. The event is if the asset is updated, and the condition is that the asset should not be used by anyone. So the condition used is used by is none. And if this condition matches, then the asset state will be set as in stock. Now imagine the number of manual processes that the agents can completely avoid using a workflow like this. Every day in, day out, there are so many assets that are being used and being returned. Now each of these assets are, if you had, if you see a sysadmin's room, I myself, for example, have gone to a sysadmin's room, and there are a bunch of laptops that are, that are lying around. And the sysadmin says that, oh, these are the assets that have been returned back. Now I have to log them in and update their status individually. Now this workflow cuts down all of the time that is spent by the agents doing that particular process. Let's see another workflow for the asset management. Now let's say that the asset, let's say the iPhone, for example, is returned back and it was in stock. And now this iPhone is being requested by another user again and has been assigned to them. In that case, we have to send an email to the person saying that this has been assigned to you. And this simple process can be automated using the workflow automator. Now, if the event is that if the asset state is updated from in stock to in use, that is the event. And the action is that the email has to be triggered to the user who is going to be using that particular asset. You can see that there are placeholders available in the body of the email. So this really simplifies the whole process. Now this is asset automation for you. Now these two are very simple examples of what can be done using the asset automation, but there are a lot more complex use cases that can be that we are seeing in many of our customers every day. So if you want help in setting up complex processes for assets, please raise your hand or just ping in the chat or Q&A. Sanjeev can help you with that, or we can take it offline and help you over an email. Let's see what else we have. The next one that we have is what we call as the supervisor. Now, this supervisor has been in Freshservice for quite some time, but we've been seeing the supervisor being used by many of our customers much more in the recent times. And so we thought, well, if this is being used by a lot of our customers, then we need to educate many of our customers on how to use it, because a lot of our customers are finding it useful. So the supervisor is basically something that is going to go through each of your ticket that has been raised in the last 30 days. It checks the tickets for every hour, and whatever conditions, based on the conditions that you have configured and based on the actions that you have configured, and if the conditions match, the actions will be performed on those tickets automatically. Now, this will be really helpful in many use cases. There are many use cases where this has saved time to our customers. Now, let me show you how you can do this. Again, in the admin section, under Help Desk Productivity, you have Supervisor. Here you can see that this mentions that the supervisor will run every hour and process the tickets that have been updated within the past 30 days. And these supervisor rules, they are being performed in the order the rules are present here. So the order that you have mentioned the rules is very important, because the rule that is at the top, the action of that may override the rule at the bottom. So you need to be careful on how you order the rules in this section. All right, so let's see what this particular rule does. Now, this rule is supposed to automatically close resolved tickets after 48 hours. So many times the tickets are being resolved, meaning which the incident or a problem has been resolved, but it has not been closed. So supervisor checks these tickets, and if this ticket has been resolved in the last 48 hours, then the status will be automatically changed to closed. Here you can see how the conditions are checked. If the status is resolved and the hours since resolved is greater than 48 hours, in that case, the status is, now this is one of the simple use case where you can use supervisor, but there are so many other complex scenarios where you can create the supervisor rules. Let's go see what we have next. We have Field Suggester. So this Field Suggester is an interesting functionality in Freshservice, which is the benefit of Field Suggester is immense, but the functionality is so simple. It can be, it's just a toggle away in your accounts. So if you just enable this particular toggle in under your admin page, you will be able to enable Freshservice to use machine learning and understand your tickets processes and automatically set the category, status, and type, impact, etc., based on what's present in the title and subject and the body of the particular ticket. Here you can see in this example mentioned here, there is a request for an Apple book. And here's a description that mentions that this is the corporate standard laptop for employees, and there is a request for a new Apple MacBook. And here you can see on the properties on the right section, the ones in the orange have been predicted by the field suggester. Based on what's present in the description and the title, it has identified that this is a service request. And what is the urgency? It is medium. It is not. It does not have a great impact. And which team should handle this is the hardware team because it's a MacBook. So this is how Field Suggester predicts the various properties of your ticket. And every day for one ticket, an agent spends close to 10 to 20 seconds in assigning all of these properties individually by going through what's mentioned in these tickets. This 10 to 15 seconds accumulated over several tickets over several days and months is a very huge number. It's a long process. And that is what Field Suggester helps in cutting down. Thank you everybody for joining the session today. It was really interesting having you all. And we had really nice questions. And we will be sending you the webinar recording in an email tomorrow.